Number 10. Rock and roll. Since an early age, King has been a fan of music, his favorite music being rock and roll. Surprisingly, King is in a band with several other authors, including Amy Tan, Mitch Albom, Matt Groening, and several others. For the most part, his job is to play rhythm guitar. Their band, the Rock Bottom Remainders, often tour around a few months out of each year. It should also be noted that while riding, King will have music blasting from the speakers, almost shaking the rafters of his New England-style house, claiming that it helps him concentrate. Number 9. Revenge of the Nerd. In order to clear his head, King will often take long walks through the streets of Bangor, Maine. On one particular night in 1999, King was walking down a long, dark road when a van suddenly turned the corner. It smashed into him, causing a broken rib, collapsed lung, a severe gash directly to the head, and a leg broken in 9 separate places. After recovering, King bought the vehicle that hit him. Releasing an uncontrollable, bottled-up wrath, King quickly turned it into scrap metal with a baseball bat. Number 8. Addictions. It may be shocking to some, but in the 1980s, King struggled with drug and alcohol addiction. The master of horror himself claims that he has no recollection at all of writing Cujo. Several family members confronted him with his deteriorating physical and mental state due to drugs and sought to get him help. They found traces of cocaine, Xanax, and Valium in trash cans around the house. Thankfully, the help of his family members was enough to get King back on the right track. Ever since the incident, he's been sober and on several occasions has spoken out against drug and alcohol abuse. Number 7. The Homestead. Stephen King's house is a twisted, spine-chilling beauty. It sits in a developed New England neighborhood with a black iron fence encompassing the outside portion of his property. Bats and dragons are just a few of the many odd features to its structure. King is known to many as a reclusive character, but locals often boast about his kindness and how down-to-earth he is. Mansfield Stadium, better known as the Field of Screams, is a baseball field located some ways behind his house. It was funded entirely by King and built for community use. It's well known that King has always had a love for Maine, and fictional places within the state are almost always included somewhere in his novels. Number 6. Hardships. There have been numerous hardships that King has had to face in his lifetime. He came from a poor family that struggled to get by financially. When he was around the age of 5, his father walked out on them, leaving his mother to work multiple jobs just to put food on the table. During this time, Stephen and his brother David spent hours on end reading to each other and teaching themselves how to not just survive on their own, but thrive. Some years later, King witnessed his best friend being killed by a freight train. Although he has never admitted it, many fans and psychiatrists out there believe that this gave birth to his contorted imagination that would prove to last the rest of his life. Number 5. Deep Roots. Of the 5 people in King's immediate and close family, 4 of them are published authors. His wife Tabitha has written an assortment of novels on several various topics. Their eldest son, Joe, followed in his father's footsteps and currently writes books pertaining to the subjects of horror and mystery. The youngest member of the King family, Owen, has written several short stories and a novella. Interestingly enough, he married an author. Last but not least, there's Reverend Naomi King. She's their only daughter, currently not published, but who spends the majority of her time as a minister and homosexual activist. Number 4. Split personalities. During the late 1970s, King began publishing his novels under the pseudonym Richard Bachman. It was a name based off one of his favorite bands at the time, Bachman Turner Overdrive. He later revealed the 2 reasons for this partial move. First, King feared that his name had become branded. This meant that any of his success was no longer earned by hard work, but 2 words on the cover of a novel. The second reason for this switch was that his publisher didn't want to flood the market with Stephen King books, and would prefer no more than 1 novel a year. Any surplus writings were released under the pen name Richard Bachman. Number 3. Superstitions. Believe it or not, the master of horror himself is mortified of something other than the works he publishes. He suffers from triskaidekaphobia, which is the fear of the number 13. While writing, he will never stop working if the page number is 13 or a multiple of it. Any number other than these are what King calls safe numbers. There are 13 steps on the back stairwell of his home. For this reason, he's always sure to skip the first step, leaving only 12 to climb. Number 2. Medical conditions. Throughout his entire life, King has felt ill or sickly on many occasions, but he's also been very lucky and successful with both his career and friendships made along the way. There are several medical conditions still traumatizing him today, including deteriorating eyesight. At the height of the Vietnam War, the draft board found King unfit to serve for a number of reasons. These included high blood pressure, punctured eardrums, limited vision, and even flat feet. Who knows? These medical conditions may have been a blessing that saved his life. Number 1. Script Resurrected. During much of his early career, Stephen King struggled to make ends meet, and the same showed in his writing. Originally, he threw out the first draft of Carrie, which he had intentions to make into a short story. Seeing it in the trash can, his wife Tabitha rescued it, seeing potential in the work. Adding a feminine touch to it, together they finished the book. He ended up dedicating it to her and still firmly believes if she had not resurrected it, chances are he would never have reached the audience and fan base he now has today. Like these top 10 videos? Subscribe by clicking the annotation here and give our video a like. Have an idea for a future top 10? Leave a comment in the section below.